Well, good morning, Production Studio 400. I hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. As you can see, it's kind of gloomy out here in California. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I have a PowerPoint presentation. I will present. I'm going to start off with a presentation to pick up from where we left off from the other presentation by the other project manager. And then I will also, after that, I'll be sharing a report with redacted information. I am Evelyn, also known as Mimi, and I am a project manager on the UAT internal cyber project for the University of Advancing Technology. So this is a project for the school. So our client is the school. It's a cybersecurity project to evaluate data safety and the university security posture. So for the first 7.5 weeks, our team members were project managers, myself and William Jones, no relation, security experts, Carlos Luperciro and Avismel Velasco Gomez, documentation, Theodore Wambach, Meyer Johnson, Weston Dana, automation, Meyer Johnson and William Jones, and for secure code analysts, myself and Nicholas Labam, I think it's pronounced. So as you can see, some of us kind of doubled up on some roles, a little bit of a lean team. So in the first 7.5 weeks, our first milestone was OSINT. OSINT in cybersecurity stands for open source intelligence. So it's the gathering of information from publicly available sources to learn more about a target without hacking or breaking any rules. So the target in this case are some IP addresses and domains provided by the client liaison and some of the OSINT tools that we used and then some of those findings. So I think all of us are working with Kali Linux virtual machines. And so basically like a sandbox, a safe environment without like anything corrupting or messing up with our primary systems that we're using. Linux commands such as nslookup, dig, and whois. I noticed that was mainly for the secure code analysts. The security experts used Shodan. We found security certificates, server locations, security and administration contact information, other IP addresses, and DNS info and subdomains. The purpose of this milestone was to find clues like domain names, subdomains, which we did find, additional IP addresses, technologies used, and sometimes even exposed credentials, again, in the public database. So basically, when websites are registered, there's publicly available information. We kind of even go through that. And if we notice that contact information is like a Gmail account, for example, that's actually not best security hygiene. So then, of course, we kind of note that and make a note that, and then give recommendations to replace. This helps us, the testers, map out the target's infrastructure. So back to those targets again, and also identify potential weak points without actually alerting the organization. And here's a picture, a little screenshot of what we have been using to track our progress and this milestone and others, which is Trello. So then we completed OSINT. That's milestone 1. Milestone 2 is reconnaissance. So this is basically more information gathering about the target or targets without interacting with the targets directly. So you can think of this as scouting the area before making a move. And the recon tools and findings for this one was a little bit different. So we did use some additional OSINT techniques, Linux commands and scripts, so, to kind of like scripting to automate the process of findings. Some other people on the team, like security experts, used Zap, Nikito. And as far as myself is concerned, when it comes to security code analysis, I use regular expressions. And we discovered open ports, geographical location, software, and software version numbers. So we also dabbled in a little bit into web reconnaissance, which is looking through and for JavaScript code vulnerabilities. So basically, with reconnaissance, we're doubling down on milestone 1 to find potential vulnerabilities to test and exploit. for the next milestone. Our team security experts and secure code analysts found vulnerabilities to exploit for milestone 3, which is exploits and where ethical hacking actually begins. Of course, we have to stay within scope according to the client's wishes. So just to kind of break down a little bit, OSINT versus recon, because they're a little bit of the same, but they're also different. So reconnaissance is the initial phase when you kind of get everything together. That you can also call that passive lookup, or excuse me, yeah, OSINT, yeah, passive lookup. Reconnaissance is where you kind of, like I said, double down on that information and you kind of dig a little further to see if you can find possible vulnerabilities and exploits to test. So, as far as where we are currently, we're currently in milestone 2, phase 2, which is web reconnaissance. So far, 9 JavaScript files from one of the domains, from one of the target domains given to us by the client liaison, have been scanned using regular expressions in Visual Studio Code. And that was done by myself as I switched hats from project manager to secure code analyst and completed that. So now kind of moving on to the future, which is milestone 3, which will be exploits. In this milestone, we will try to take advantage of the vulnerabilities we found during reconnaissance and OSINT to see, and then so we're going to be using the information from reconnaissance, but then also OSINT. So we're kind of going back and using those things to go back and then try to exploit vulnerabilities. Thus the milestone name exploits. So we're doing that to see if we can if the information used can be used to gain access or control of anything, again within scope. Then once we find those, if and when we can do that, I will put it in a report and report the client and then report the findings to the client. So we've already begun milestone 3 prep, which is automation. So this is on the automation team right now. Automation to kind of help us along with the exploit phase or the milestone is retrieving usernames and passwords for brute force attacks using a tool called Hydra. The information that can be used to set up this process would be username and password information, which can be retrieved from contact information found in Recon phase 1, or excuse me, and yes, in Recon phase 1. So I broke it down into 2 there. So currently for the 7.5 weeks, so that was the project itself altogether. As far as the team is concerned, there have been some changes, there have been some challenges, but there's also some solutions and forward momentum. So, for the current team members, we have myself as project manager. As we have not heard from William, we hope he is well. Security experts are still Carlos and Avismel. The documentation team has actually grown. There's Theodore, Meyer, Weston, and now a new team member who is just a wonderful asset named Christopher Woods. Automation is Meyer by himself. As William, again, we haven't heard from. The secure code analysts now are myself and Christopher. He's actually taking the place of Nicholas, as Nicholas is no longer on the team. So we are down 2 people, but we also gained 2 new members. The other member hasn't chosen a role yet, so they're not listed, but we lost 2, but gained 2. So same number moving forward. So as far as the reflection is concerned, here's the challenges and here are the solutions. I say that with a smile because it has been very challenging, but it's also been very rewarding. And I am appreciative of the experience, as is the rest of the team. So the challenges, people have life happens, we're all students. We're all working, most of us, working adults, navigating through this, through school and our journeys. And so there's been challenges of people consistently showing up or, that people kind of drop out, things happen, and then there's like no updates either, which as project manager, I'm really big on communication, at least pop in and say something. So when I have found that in order to effectively lead the team, I have decided as a solution to say, you know what, assign deliverables if you want to stay on the team. So if someone, say, for instance, says, hey, sorry, I've been MIA, I'm coming back, I'm recommitting, it's like, all right, then prove it. Here's a deliverable. And then if they successfully complete that deliverable, you're still on the team. You show that you're committed in here, which everyone has done so far. Another challenge is documentation team, keeping up with all of our reports. As this was a discovery of mine when it came to delivering the report to the progress report to the board. It seems that the system that we had to provide documentation, the documentation team with reports was maybe a little too overwhelming for them and kind of hard to keep up, especially if some people kind of fall behind and they have to catch up. So the documentation team the solution is have the team asked to produce a system moving forward by today and to tell us how they would like us to move forward with them. They have already started doing this. So we are going to, as moving forward, we're only going to be sending summaries of our findings instead of full blown reports. So we send summaries of our findings. We're not sure where that's going to go yet, how that's going to get to them, but they will provide an update by Sunday, I'm told. At first, in the beginning, especially in the beginning of the project, there were too many communication channels and people were getting too overwhelmed with all the bing, bing, bing and things of that nature. So we simplified, we drilled down to one channel, like internal project channel using Microsoft Teams, and then one group chat. As far as myself is concerned as project manager, I've also started taking the time because people were inconsistently showing up. I've been taking the time to reach out to people in direct messaging and just to check in with them. And I've noticed that that's helped as well. And then, of course, balancing two roles. Myself and other folks on the team are balancing two roles right now. So the solution for that is to lean on team members, even if they're not on your initial like sub team, like documentation or secure code, but also to communicate that you're struggling with the group. Like just let people know so that, I, especially myself as project manager, can try to come up with a solution to help you so that you are not struggling and that we can just keep the project going. So, team successes, the yay moments, which I'm so proud of, completed. So, we so far have completed milestone one on about 50% of the project scope. We were given quite a few IP addresses and domains to go through. Despite challenges, we still completed about 50%. And, I found enough information to actually move on to milestone two and then also start prepping for milestone three. We found 4 potential vulnerabilities to test in milestone three. We're actually starting to plan milestone three. We're trying to get ahead of the curve. We're able to start an extra part of reconnaissance, which is web recon. So the client did express that, or the client liaison rather expressed that web recon is usually kind of an extra thing and that other teams in the past have not really gotten to that point. So despite our challenges, we were able to get there and actually even go through some JavaScript files and find some vulnerabilities. And meeting attendance in the last 2 weeks has increased about 75%, showing people are recommitted, people are checking in, people do care about this project, which at the end of the day is, all you really need is that intention, right? So moving forward, we're going to continue to meet next and every Thursday to talk about milestones, review. And the next Thursday, we're going to actually focus on talking about next steps at milestone two and three, and then review web recon findings and compare to other reports as a part of setting up for that next milestone and those phases. And then start planning milestone three, revisit automation tasks, see how that's going, then complete milestone three, then finally submit 2 reports to the client, one like kind of like executive summary report, and then one that kind of dives more into the findings. So again, I want to take this time to thank you, the audience, for listening and also thank my team. I'm so grateful for the people that we have and just the strength to kind of keep moving on. Quickly, before questions or comments, I do want to share the report just real quick, just to kind of show you what we have done. I switched sharing tabs. Can you see UAT Internal Security Assessment Report? Can you see that? Yes. All right, cool. So this is basically, and everything was redacted. So the client liaison took the time to help us out and redact everything. But this is a progress report so far that we are turning into the client. It shows executive summary. It shows what I presented, and then scope, what we can do and what we cannot do. Our findings, as you can see, we have a lot of OSINT findings. And then we also have our reconnaissance findings and then our upcoming plans. So that's it.
All right.
Any
Thank you so
questions,
much.
comments, or concerns? Thank you.